What just happened on live TV will leave you speechless. Dolly Parton, the legend herself, faced off with Joy Behar on The View and in front of millions. She humiliated her. Calmly, quietly, but with a force no one expected. The studio went dead silent, viewers couldn't believe their eyes, and social media exploded. You have to see the moment everyone's talking about. Asterisk, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, so you'll never miss an update. Now, let's dive into what really happened. Asterisk. Dolly Parton walked onto the View stage exactly the way millions of fans around the world have come to love her radiating warmth, humility, and that unmistakable Southern charm. The moment she appeared, the studio audience erupted into thunderous applause. Some stood up. Others cheered her name. It was clear that this wasn't just another celebrity guest appearance. This was Dolly Parton, a living legend, whose presence alone brings comfort and joy. She greeted the hosts with hugs, laughter, and her trademark humor, instantly setting a relaxed and friendly tone. From the very beginning, the atmosphere felt celebratory. The hosts praised her long career, her iconic music, and her unmatched influence across generations. Dolly smiled graciously, brushing off compliments the way she always does, by redirecting attention to her fans and her work rather than herself. The conversation started exactly as viewers expected. Dolly spoke about her music journey, reflecting on how she stayed true to herself despite decades of fame. She shared lighthearted stories, made the audience laugh, and briefly touched on her charitable efforts, including education initiatives and programs aimed at helping underprivileged children. The mood was warm, nostalgic, and uplifting, classic daytime television at its best. For several minutes, everything felt perfectly balanced. The co-hosts nodded along, smiling. The audience laughed at Dolly's jokes. It was one of those interviews that felt safe, comforting, and joyful, till the topic slowly shifted. As the discussion moved away from music and charity and toward broader cultural conversations, the energy in the room subtly changed. Joy Behar, known for her outspoken personality and fearless commentary, began steering the conversation in a different direction. At first, it was gentle questions framed as curiosity rather than confrontation. But underneath them, there was a clear intention. Joy began asking Dolly about her influence and responsibility as a public figure. She referenced the current social and political climate, suggesting that voices like Dolly's carried enormous power. The tone was still polite, but noticeably sharper. Viewers could feel the shift. This was no longer a celebration, it was becoming a challenge. Dolly responded the way she always does, with kindness. She smiled, laughed softly, and gave thoughtful but general answers. She emphasized love, unity, and understanding. She spoke about how she tries to make everyone feel welcome, regardless of background or beliefs. Her words were careful, inclusive, and intentionally neutral. But Joy wasn't satisfied. She pushed further, suggesting that staying neutral in times of division could be seen as avoiding responsibility. Her questions became more direct, almost framing Dolly's approach as outdated or insufficient in today's world. The audience began to grow quiet. Laughter faded. The one's light atmosphere tightened. Other co-hosts glanced at each other, sensing the tension. Some attempted to soften the moment with brief comments, but Joy continued. She implied that celebrities with massive platforms should take firm political stances and use their influence to push specific messages. Dolly's smile remained, but it wasn't quite the same. For the first time since she walked onto the stage, there was a noticeable pause in her expression. The warmth was still there. Something deeper surfaced beneath it. Seriousness, experience, resolve. Cameras caught the slight, changed the subtle tightening of her lips. The way she leaned back thoughtfully before responding. The audience could feel it too. This was no longer just an interview. It was becoming a defining moment. Viewers sensed that Dolly was being pushed into a corner, gently but deliberately. And while she never appeared angry or defensive, the tension in the room was undeniable. As Joy continued to press her point, the studio grew unusually quiet. No laughter, no applause, just anticipation. Everyone watching, both in the studio and at home, felt it. Something was about to happen. Dolly Parton, known for her kindness and calm demeanor, was being challenged in a way she rarely allows. And in that moment, it became clear. This conversation was about to change completely. Asterisk. Joy Behar didn't let the topic go. Instead of easing back, she leaned further into her argument, repeating the idea that neutrality, especially from someone as influential as Dolly Parton, could be seen as avoidance. Her words carried an edge now, less curious and more challenging. What had started as a discussion was slowly turning into pressure. The atmosphere in the studio shifted noticeably. The light laughter from earlier was gone, replaced by an uneasy stillness. A few audience members exchanged glances, sensing the discomfort. This was no longer the warm, celebratory interview they had come to see. Joy continued, carefully choosing words that framed her position as moral responsibility. She suggested that choosing not to take sides was, in itself, a choice and one that favored comfort over courage. Her tone grew sharper, almost dismissive, as if Dolly's long-standing philosophy of kindness and unity simply wasn't enough in the modern world. The tension spread across the table. One co-host shifted in her chair and glanced down at her notes. Another offered a small, uncertain smile, as if debating whether to step in and soften the moment. But no one interrupted. Everyone could feel that stepping in now might only make things worse. Joy pressed again, this time more directly. She implied that Dolly's ability to remain neutral came from privilege, fame, wealth, and universal admiration. The words hung heavily in the air. For a split second, the audience reacted with a low murmur, unsure how to process what they were hearing. That was the turning point. Dolly Parton, who had been relaxed and easygoing just moments before, slowly shifted her posture. She sat up straighter in her chair, no longer leaning casually back. She folded her hands neatly in front of her, a small but powerful gesture that signaled focus and control. Her expression remained calm, but something had clearly changed. She looked directly at Joy. The smile was still there, but it was different now, softer, controlled, mixed with a quiet strength that only comes from decades of experience and self-assurance. Dolly didn't rush to respond. She didn't interrupt. She didn't show anger or frustration. Instead, she waited. That pause spoke louder than words. The studio fell into complete silence. No one spoke. No one moved. Even the audience seemed to hold its breath. Cameras lingered on Dolly's face, capturing the moment when a beloved entertainer transformed into someone resolute and unshakable. Joy, for the first time, stopped talking. The stillness stretched on for just a few seconds, but it felt much longer. In that silence, the balance of the conversation shifted. This was no longer Joy questioning Dolly. This was Dolly preparing to answer on her own terms. Viewers at home felt it too. Social media users would later describe this moment as chilling and electric. It wasn't dramatic in a loud way. It was powerful in its restraint. Dolly Parton had been pushed as far as she was willing to go, and everyone in the room knew it. Whatever she was about to say next wasn't going to be rushed, emotional, or reactionary. It was going to be deliberate, measured, unforgettable. And in that silent studio, one truth became clear. Joy Behar had crossed a line and Dolly Parton was about to respond. Asterisk. After what felt like an endless silence, Dolly Parton finally began to speak, and the way she did it immediately changed the energy in the room. Her voice was calm, steady, and warm, just as audiences have known it for decades. There was no anger in her tone, no sarcasm, no defensiveness. Instead, there was confidence, the kind that comes from knowing exactly who you are and never needing to prove it. Dolly started by gently explaining that her entire life's mission has always been about bringing people together, not dividing them. She spoke slowly, choosing her words carefully, making sure every sentence landed with clarity and purpose. She reminded everyone that she grew up in poverty, surrounded by people from different backgrounds, beliefs, and struggles, and that those experiences shaped her values more than any political movement ever could. She talked about love, about unity, about respect. Dolly explained that she has always believed kindness can reach places anger never will. She said that while arguments and labels may dominate television debates, Compassion has the power to change lives quietly, behind the scenes, where cameras aren't rolling. As she spoke, the studio remained completely silent, every word sinking in. Then she addressed the pressure directly but gracefully. She acknowledged that people often expect celebrities to take sides, to speak loudly, and to draw lines. But she made it clear that she never built her career on telling people what to think. She built it on making people feel seen, heard, and valued, no matter who they are. And then came the line that changed everything. With a gentle smile and unwavering eye contact, Dolly said that she doesn't owe anyone her political identity. Not the media. Not television hosts. Not even her fans. She explained that her values are not measured by slogans or public declarations, but by action. The room froze. Dolly continued, pointing to her decades of real-world impact. She mentioned her literacy programs that have given millions of children free books. She referenced her investments in education, disaster relief, and healthcare. She spoke about families she's helped, communities she's uplifted, and lives she's touched without ever asking for credit or applause. Her message was crystal clear. Her work speaks louder than any televised debate ever could. She didn't accuse. She didn't shame. She didn't raise her voice. But her words carried weight. The effect was immediate. Joy Behar, who moments earlier had been pressing relentlessly, sat still, visibly caught off guard. For the first time in the exchange, she had no immediate response. Her expression shifted from confidence to surprise, as if she hadn't expected such a measured yet powerful answer. The audience reacted almost instinctively. Applause broke out, first softly, then growing louder. People stood. Some nodded. Others clapped with genuine emotion. Even the co-hosts, who had looked uncomfortable earlier, began nodding in agreement. One by one, they seemed to realize they were witnessing something rare. A confrontation transformed into a lesson. Dolly didn't celebrate the moment. She didn't bask in the applause. She simply smiled politely and waited for it to die down, maintaining the same calm presence she had throughout. What made the moment unforgettable wasn't just what Dolly said, it was how she said it. She proved that strength doesn't have to be loud, that confidence doesn't need aggression, and that you can stand your ground without tearing someone else down. Without directly humiliating Joy Behar, Dolly somehow walked away as the clear winner by choosing wisdom over ego. In that moment, the conversation stopped being about politics or celebrity responsibility. It became about character. And as the applause echoed through the studio, one thing was undeniable. Dolly Parton hadn't just answered a question, she had owned the moment. Asterisk. The moment the segment ended, the impact was immediate. Within minutes, short clips of the exchange began circulating across social media platforms. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube were flooded with reactions from viewers who had just witnessed what many were calling one of the most powerful daytime TV moments in recent memory. Users shared the clip with captions praising Dolly Parton's grace and composure. Comments poured in describing her response as classy, brilliant, and unshakable. Many fans pointed out how rare it is to see someone remain so calm under pressure, especially on live television. Instead of reacting emotionally, Dolly responded with clarity and purpose, and viewers noticed. On TikTok, reaction videos quickly went viral. Creators replayed the clip, pausing to analyze Dolly's body language, her tone, and the way she chose her words. Some described the moment as a masterclass in emotional intelligence. Others highlighted how Dolly's quiet confidence stood in sharp contrast to the intensity of the questioning she faced. As the conversation spread, a particular narrative began to take shape. Many viewers felt that Dolly had, in their words, humiliated Joy Behar, but not through insults or aggression. Instead, they argued, Dolly outshined her with dignity, wisdom, and decades of lived experience. The contrast between the two approaches became the focal point of online discussions. Commentators and media personalities weighed in as well. Several noted how Dolly managed to stand her ground without escalating the situation or turning it into an argument. She didn't attack Joy personally. She didn't dismiss her outright. She simply reframed the conversation on her own terms. In doing so, shifted the power dynamic completely. Hashtags connected to The View and Dolly Parton began trending for hours. The clip was replayed millions of times, with users debating what it means for celebrities to speak out or choose not to. Some defended Joy Behar, arguing that she was simply asking tough questions and doing her job as a host. Others criticized her for pushing too aggressively and ignoring Dolly's long-expressed boundaries. Despite the divided opinions, one point remained consistent across nearly every platform. Dolly Parton walked away as the clear winner. Even viewers who openly disagreed with Dolly's stance admitted they respected how she handled the moment. Many said that while they may not share her approach, they admired her honesty, consistency, and refusal to be pressured into performing for the cameras. The exchange was quickly labeled a teachable moment. Posts and articles described it as an example of how to respond under pressure without losing control or your values. Teachers, leaders, and communication experts referenced the clip as a case study in calm assertiveness. By the end of the day, the moment had taken on a life of its own. What began as a tense interview had turned into a viral cultural discussion about respect, boundaries, and the power of grace. And in the court of public opinion, the verdict was clear. Dolly Parton didn't just survive the moment, she defined it. Asterisk. This wasn't just another tense exchange on daytime television. It wasn't a viral clip that would be forgotten by the next news cycle. What happened on The View that day became something much bigger, a cultural moment that reflected how deeply divided, emotional, and loud modern conversations have become, and how rare true composure is in the middle of it all. Dolly Parton reminded the world that strength doesn't always come from shouting louder or speaking more aggressively. Sometimes the strongest response is the calmest one. In an era dominated by outrage, instant reactions, and public shaming, her words felt almost revolutionary. She didn't fight fire with fire. She didn't try to overpower anyone. She simply stood firm in who she has always been. For decades, Dolly has built her reputation not just on music, but on authenticity. This moment reinforced why she remains one of the most universally respected figures in entertainment. She showed that you don't have to change your values to survive public pressure. You don't have to perform anger to be taken seriously. And you don't have to explain yourself to everyone who demands answers. Joy Behar may have intended to challenge Dolly's position, but instead, she unintentionally gave her the perfect platform to demonstrate why she's so deeply loved across generations. Younger viewers admired her emotional intelligence. Older fans recognized the wisdom earned through life experience. Across age groups, backgrounds, and beliefs, people connected with her response. What made the moment unforgettable was not just what Dolly said, but what she refused to do. She refused to insult. She refused to escalate. She refused to play the role she was being pushed into. That restraint spoke louder than any argument ever could. By the end of the show, the message was unmistakable. You don't need to humiliate someone to win an argument. Sometimes grace is the strongest weapon of all. The exchange has already been replayed countless times. It's discussed in articles, podcasts, and comment sections around the world. Communication experts point to it as an example of boundary setting without hostility. Fans see it as proof that kindness is not weakness. And critics, even those who disagreed with Dolly, acknowledge that she handled the moment with rare poise. Years from now, this moment will still be referenced not because it was explosive or ugly, but because it was thoughtful. It showed a different way forward in public discourse. One where confidence doesn't need volume and power doesn't need cruelty. In the end, Dolly Parton didn't just win an argument on live television. She delivered a reminder the world desperately needed. And that is why this moment will live on as one of the most unforgettable live TV exchanges in recent history. Asterisk.